Hi, welcome to Singing Tips. I'm Lois Johnston, and this is classical singing for beginners. And the reason I choose to teach a classical technique is because it gives you the highest level of skill available to you. And it's all those skills that I'll teach you and the singing tips that I'll give you in these videos are transferable, and you can sing any genre your little heart chooses to without coming to any harm if you've got that classical technique in place. It's essential that you check out lesson number 1, because while we will cover some of those aspects from the first lesson, we want to use that as a platform to build on. So the link will magically appear. Please watch lesson 1 before you progress to lesson 2. Because breathing is so foundational to good singing, we always start with the basics. So posture, first of all, so you need to be standing tall, so stretch up through the spine a good couple of centimeters, and then check that you're now not digging your toes in to stabilize yourself as your center of gravity is slightly changed. Check that your knees aren't locked, and check with those all-important pelvic floor muscles that you're not gripping them up. If you're still not quite able to identify them, give them a really good squeeze, like you're trying to stop yourself from peeing, and then release them. And you need them in the released, relaxed position when you start to inhale. Then, when we've got our posture organized, just give your shoulders a roll to make sure that you don't have any tension in this area, and your hands should just fall loosely by your sides. Then when the posture's good, we'll start working on some breathing exercises. So just using what we did last time as a basis, I'm going to actually teach you another exercise all about getting the breath low into the body. So I'm just going to move back here so that you can see hopefully what I'm doing with my hands. And you're going to pretend that your hands are rubber gloves and also your lungs, and you're going to fill up right to your fingertips. So the idea is that you place your hands in the small of your back down here, and as you inhale, you're inflating your hands, and then as you exhale, your hands will deflate. So the idea is just to redirect your breath into the small of your back, which activates all your core muscles, keeps the breath low, and keeps this area out of the equation altogether. We talk about your primary breath mechanism as opposed to your secondary mechanism. It's the primary mechanism that we want to use for your singing. So here we go again, just breathing in, relaxing the pelvic floor muscles, breathing right down to your fingertips. And you'll notice your belly will move outwards to accommodate all the air that's coming into your lungs. And then you're going to exhale. One more of those. In right to your fingertips. And exhale again. And when you get a little bit more sure of that exercise, I'll change the way that we do it so that you're inhaling the lovely R shape. So when you're not focusing so much on having your hands behind you, we'll modify it into that R shape, but not just yet. That's maybe for lesson 3. So I'm still working out at this point what voice type you are and what your range is. So the exercises that I do in a key that's suitable for me. If you're a male voice or a low voice, you're probably going to want to start them the octave lower. So starting down here, I always start my exercises on an A, in A major. You might want to start them an octave lower. And if that's too low to start with, you can just join in at a point that you can find those notes. So it will be trial and error to start with, just to work out where your voice sits naturally. And then if the exercise goes too high for you, you just drop out and drop back in at the bottom again and join in an octave lower again. You'll figure that out yourself, I'm sure. So now we've got your breath going low into the body and not interfering with this area here, we're going to start warming your voice up now. And we're going to start with some sirens. And I'm going to teach you a new siren exercise, which I call the chewing gum exercise. So siren sounds are the very playful woo, woo, woo sounds. And what we're going to do is we're going to siren up a fifth, pulling chewing gum out of our mouths, imaginary chewing gum, and then up an octave, opening into the wow space. So I'll show you what I mean. And for everyone, you're going to be opening your mouth wide as you breathe in. And getting that feeling of the soft palate rising up, and then trying to keep the palate in that raised position. So that's the feeling that you get when you do a real yawn. Checking in when you get to the end that your palate is still where you think you left it in the raised position. And if you find yourself focusing on the destination notes and doing ooh without the slide, just switch your attention back to the slide. It's the slide that's the important part, much more so than the destination notes. Soft palate raised. And then when you get more comfortable with it, we'll go a little bit faster. Last one. Palate raised. So that's really great. Siren sounds are great for getting your breath flow working at the optimum level for your vocal cords. And they're a gentle, safe way of getting your voice warmed up. Brilliant for when you don't have much time, actually, or if you're heading off to rehearsal, choir practice or whatever, and you're in the car. They're things that you can do in the car. Possibly not the chewing gum, though, while you're in the car, maybe just some voice sirens. And then what we're going to do today is do a little bit of vowel work. So if you watched, I'm sure you did, the first video, you will know that all of my warm-up exercises also serve a technical purpose as well. So I'm all for killing multiple birds with one stone. So this vowel exercise, it has words, but the words actually consist of the English and Italianate open vowel sounds. So A, E, O, U. And the words for the exercise are there 3 or 2? A, E, O, U. So we're just taking a yawny breath, raising the palate. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. And eliding there are. So there's a tiny little R sound in there so that we don't get there are and a glottal on the word are. We want everything to be really smooth and legato. So this is a legato vowel exercise. Even though it doesn't feel like it, that's what it is. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. Check your palate. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. Long, low breath. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. Palate up. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. And I'm putting all of those vowels, R, E, O, U, into that R space that I breathe in at the very start. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. So even when I'm singing the oo of 2, what's happening inside my mouth is still R space from the same sound as the breath and the vowel R when we sing the word R. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. Palate right up. Are there 3 or 2? 2 or 3 there are. And then what I'm going to ask you to do is flip that around and start with 2 or 3. So when you get to R on the high note, you're on the nicest vowel to sing when you're singing higher in the voice. So we've got the nice open R vowel for the very top notes. 2 or 3 there are. There 3 or 2. Still yawning the R shape in. 2 or 3 there are. There 3 or 2. Palate right up. 2 or 3 there are. There 3 or 2. Yawn the breath in. Lovely wide open mouth. 2 or 3 there are. There 3 or 2. So that's our lovely legato vowel exercise. So when you think about what's happening when we sing, it's the vowels that sound beautiful. So the vowels are carried on the breath. So that's why we need to get the breath support working first. And then we place the vowels onto that breath. And then, of course, we add consonants in. And we try to do that in a way that doesn't interfere with that beautiful legato breath flow, which is always constant and always flowing in the same direction. So now we're going to start building on the song that you started learning last week. Now that was, we chose Somewhere Over the Rainbow just because most people go blank when I say to them, what would you like to sing? And they go rabbit in the headlights and can't think of anything. But nearly everybody seems to know Somewhere Over the Rainbow. So that's one that we often start with. So we chose Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and a key that was quite accessible for multiple voice types. So we chose C major, and we worked on just the first section, so always breaking a song down into chunks. So at this point, I would probably ask you to sing that first section on your own, just to see how you got on with it and how you got on with your practice of it. So here we go. Let's just sing the first section now together. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. There's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. So what we worked on last time was keeping the vowels elongated and pitching the consonant of somewhere, the w up on the upper note, somewhere, and also, of course, just how we take that breath in for every single phrase. Somewhere over the rainbow, and making sure that the never becomes an important word. So you never want to emphasize the word the, you want to pick another word in the phrase which is an important word. So somewhere over the rainbow is probably the better place to put the emphasis, and it gives the phrase a beautiful shape. Let's just sing that together again. Soft palate raised, pitching the consonants on the notes they belong to. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. And with that one, way up. It's a nice one. It's going higher in the voice, so it often presents a problem because psychologically we get anxious because we're going higher in the voice. But because it's such a helpful vowel, R is essentially an R space. You can just tap into that R space that you take in when you take the breath. Way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. So once we've, I'm just finding my lyrics again here. Once we've reiterated what you've worked on and just checked that everything you practiced during the week before, between lessons, was all working and that you didn't run into any huge problems, then we'll add in the new section. And in this song, it's the same tune but new text. So we've got the same things. You yawn the breath in. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. And again, it's about picking out the important words and underlining them in your score so that you push those important words and syllables out of the text slightly so that we get a beautiful phrase shape. And of course, it's all about really slowing down how you take the breath. So what I teach at this early stage is try not to sing along with backing tracks because they're relentless and they only give you a set amount of time in which to take the breath. And when you're at this beginner stage, you really need heaps of time to remember how to take the breath because you're thinking about taking the breath low, not allowing any breath to come up here into your chest. You're thinking about your soft palate. You're thinking about where to pitch the consonants, all these things that you have to think about when you're just starting out. So I always say, just practice on your own. You can always stop and start a recording if you have to practice along with it to keep pitch. But if you can, just make sure that you allow yourself more time than exists within the scope of the song to take the breath. So the breath is going to take a heap of time. So your first breath, somewhere over the rainbow. Give yourself time to think. Skies are blue. Time to think of everything. Low breath. Palate raised. forgotten what the next words are. I'm going to have to look. And the dreams that you dare to dream, time for the breath, really do come true. So we add in a new section, having worked on your first section. So all the things that we've just added in, you're going to add into your weekly practice this next week. Thinking about all the things that we talked about in that first section and the new ideas that we've introduced into the second section. Always practice really, really slowly and double check that your main focus is on the breathing rather than worrying about all the other things. Yes, you need to think about those things too, but if you haven't got the breath right between phrases, none of the other technical stuff is going to work. So it really is 90% of your focus on, and only 10% of your focus on actually singing the words. I hope that makes sense. So let's just sing those two sections together, and I'll just give you enough time between phrases to really focus on how you take that breath. So I'm not going to rush between the phrases. Here we go, right from the beginning. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. So here's your roundup and your practice plan. But before we get into that, thanks very much for watching. I hope you found the video useful. Please like and subscribe and share with anybody else that you think might be interested. And also, if you wish to consider becoming a member, I'm about to rejig all the membership levels into one super affordable level, just so that I can help as many of you as possible with your individual issues, things that you're working on, that kind of thing. So just watch out for that when it comes out. For your week ahead now, I want you to focus specifically on practicing slowly. So this is so that you get a chance to really think about how you take the breath every single time. So always start every session with checking in with your posture, checking in with your pelvic floor muscles, because your breathing isn't going to work if your pelvic floor muscles are gripped up the whole time. Checking in with your slow, yawny R breath that raises the soft palate and gets your mouth into that lovely R space. And then doing some vowel work. So the Are There 3 or 2 exercise is perfect for accessing those lovely open vowels and learning how to put them all in that beautiful R space. And then when you start singing your song, focusing on each individual section. So we've covered now 2 sections of the song, and just making sure that you give yourself time to focus on how you take the breath between phrases, and don't just sing a phrase and then rush on because you're already thinking about the next phrase. Really divert your attention to focusing on how you take the breath. If you've taken the breath correctly, your singing will be much better.